Your backend API will be attacked if you don't take these 5 crucial security steps to avoid NoSQL injection, limit too many requests, disallow disposable or temporal emails, and properly secure your API. But here is the killer. Step 1 is so crucial, yet 99% of developers ignore it. So don't risk it. Subscribe, like, share, and comment security below. So step 5 is security header. The problem is by default, Node.js or Express application expose various headers that can leak sensitive information to hackers. This makes it easier for hackers to identify your tech stack and exploit vulnerability. Without proper security headers, your API is at risk of cross-site scripting, clickjacking, and more. So the solution is to use a package called Helmet. Helmet is a middleware that automatically sets security-related HTTP headers to protect your API from this attack. So let's see this in action. Let's see this inside the code. So I have my Node.js already set up with Typescript for that structure. So to better understand this setup, watch any of these 2 videos. This will cover everything from the beginning and you will understand everything. So let's dive into the code. So in the index.c, I already have my Express already set up. So let me give you a quick view of the structure, the application itself. So inside the controller, I just have to controller the register route, login, and stuff like that. We also have the middleware. So basically, the main one to show you now is not this. I'll just show you the middleware, the async handler, and error handler. So this is just basically to wrap the route with try catch to send error. While error handler is to catch the any error that occur in the app. So it's just to add them in the index.ts. You can see error handler and you can see async handler wrap the route. So basically that is it. So let's test this. Let me close this out. So also the package JSON, you can see that I install some packages here, like so most of the package we're going to use, and we can just look at that. So inside the okay, I'll also check, look at the utils. You can see get env. So this is just to get the env, and also inside the config we have env config. So it's where the env is being set up. Then we have http config. So this is just to set a human readable http status. Basically that is all. So we're going to look at other one. So the app error is just to extend from the error and create a custom error. So that is it. So inside the index.ts, let's run the server. So to run the server, I'll go into my package.json, and you can see if I scroll up, we're using uh, tx node dev the index.tx. So let me just run the server. I'm using TypeScript. So the server is already connected. I will just run this in my Postman so we can see the headers that is going to be that's going to provide, that's going to display in the. So let's go into my Postman, and then I have already a folder set up. So I'll just click on index, which is this, and let me run this. So if I immediately I run this API, you should notice that we can see it's successful. So the main thing to look at is the header. So if I go into the headers, let me enable not this, sorry, this response headers. So you can see we have X powered by Express. You can see Node.js or Express is exposing sensitive information, and there are not much security headers to protect our API. So, like I said, the solution is to use Helmet. So you can just go over. So let me go into npm, and then we can see npm install, sorry, npm Helmet, and we can see the package here. And if you go into the package, you can see help express by setting HTTP response headers, and you can see the following default headers being added to will be added to your API. You can see protection, and also you can also remove this X powered by, which is displaying the Express server name, the getting that we're using Express here. Then we can just see some configuration for context security policy and some other. You can also disable some other headers. So you can modify it the way you want. You can see reference to other headers here. So to use that, I'm going to just scroll up. Very simple. I'll just copy just only one line of code, and inside my package, I just already installed this package already. So I'll just show you if I go into my index of package, you can see helmets here. So let me go back to my index.tx, and I'll just paste this above here, and I'm going to import helmet. I'll save this, and then I'll confirm my server is running, and we can test this and see the headers that has been set. So my server is running, so I'll just click on send again, and you can see immediately the headers has changed. The express head and the X powered by has been removed, and you can see all of these headers has been added to our response header, which is safer, and most of them are not exposing any vulnerability. You can see X cross-site scripting protection and so on. So we have already set this up. You can also modify this by, let's say I open this, you can open this and you can see, okay, content security policy. You can decide to disable it because content security policy is when we are rendering, let's say we're rendering the HTML with the Node.js app or the Express app. But since it's just an API, we can say, okay, let's set this to false. Sorry, let's set this to false. And once I set this to false, if I try to run this, this will be removed from the response headers. So I just click on send, and then you can see it has been removed. You can also modify this if you want. So I'm just going to um, let me just paste some of these headers here. You can see we're giving it so we've enforced HTTP for 2 years by a certain max age. We've also included subdomain and then preload through. So this is to prevent API embeddings in frame or something like that. Then also no sniffing. You can say block MIME types sniffing or something. And also this is to hide the power by. Then also to remove any latency and cross scripting filters, and also this. So you can just modify this, or you can remove any of this and just leave the default if you want. So basically that is it for the step 5 security here. So let's move on to the next one. So the step 4 is JWT refresh token rotation and reuse detection. So let's understand what JWT access token and refresh token is. So an access token is a short-lived token sent in the authorized header to authenticate API requests. When it expires, a refresh token is used to get a new one. While a refresh token is a long-lived token used to generate a new access token stored in HTTP only cookie, which is recommended, and it is also stored in the database to detect reuse and also prevent attack. So let's look at the problem of a refresh token. So the problem of refresh token is that if an attacker steals a refresh token, they can keep generating a new access token indefinitely. That means they can log into the user account and do whatever they want to do. So possible solution is to use refresh token rotation and reuse detection. So let's look at what refresh token rotation and reuse detection. So with refresh token rotation, how it works is every time a refresh token is used, a new refresh token is issued. When a user, a client or the front end make a request for a new access token, a new refresh token is being issued out. Then if an attacker tries to use the old refresh token, that is when we detect we use detection. We use detection come in place. Then we know that okay, a refresh token is trying to be used twice. Then we're able to force the user to log out from all devices, and also the attacker can't be able to generate a new access token. So before we go ahead and look at the implementation in code, let's look at the system diagram, how we are going to implement that. So I'm going to scroll up now, and we can see the sequence diagram. So a user make a request, that user login with a particular user agent. So we're going to make use of the user agent. You can also use IP address if you want. You can add IP address just in case. Let's say we add IP address here. to combine with the user agent so that we can be able to track the person that is trying to access. So each refresh token is assigned to a particular device. So once the user log in, an access token plus a refresh token is issued out to the clients or to the front end. So once the access token, which can stay within 15 minutes and expires, the client will request for a new access token by calling the refresh endpoint, which will then confirm the user agent, which is requesting for this refresh token, requesting for a new access token. Then we confirm that and it matches. Then, like you can see the device hash, we hash the device. Then we check if they're the same. Then we issue out a new token. Then if an attacker tries to, like let's say the attacker stole the refresh token and tries to make a request, then we confirm the user agent. And the attacker is using Firefox or Linux, then we know that this does not match. And what we have to do, we have to revoke all the token the user have access, the user has created, whether it's using a different devices. Then we throw an error. Then the front end then locks out the user. So guys, if the user tries to make a request again, a refresh requires a refresh token. Call the refresh endpoint to require an access token with the same user agent. Then user will be forced to log in, then a fresh new token will be will be assigned to the user. So basically, that's how we're going to do that. But we're going to do so. Let's go ahead and look at the code. So let's go ahead and look at the model first. So in my model, I have two models, which we have the user model and the refresh token model. So inside the user model, what we have, I'll explain everything here. So basically, let me close this. What we have the type, which is the name, the email, the password, the created ads and the updated ads, then a method for comparing password and omitting password. Then we have the schema, which is just only name, email, and password, and we set the timestamp. Now, yeah, this is pre-save. We are trying to encrypt the password, hash the password. I mean, so I'm going to go into the hash value, and if you see, we are using bcrypt for the hashing. We pass in the value, the source round 10. Then we return bcrypt hash value and so then also for the compare value to compare the value and the hash value. And this is it. So I'll close this. Let me go back to user model. Then the method here is just to omit the password to remove it from the response. So why this is to compare. So I think I should move this up here. This is to compare the password. So we're using the compare value. If I go into compare value, that's what we looked at now. Then we return the user model. So let's go into refresh token schema. So what we did here was first of all, we have the ID of the refresh token, which is, this is the type. Then we have the reference to user model, which is the user ID. Then we have token hash. So we hash the token, the refresh token. We can't just store refresh token like that on the database. So we have to hash that as a string. Then we have JTI. JTI is JWT token ID. So we just give it a unique ID uh, for the refresh token. Then we have device hash. This is where we hash the user agent or any other thing you can use to identify from the like user fingerprints or anything, device, IP address, anything you use to identify the user device here. So we have expired at here. So for the expired at, we have index expire 0. So this auto expire, we're going to assign the expired dates, and MongoDB should automatically remove this when it expires, remove the column when it expires. So then we index the JTI and user ID, because we're going to be making more of the query for using the JTI and user ID. So it'll be faster. Then we return the refresh token model. So that is it. So if I go into my index dot, okay, let's go into the controller. The controller, we have the auth controller. We have only three controller here. So I've implemented the register, but we've not implemented the refresh and login, which is the most important one we're going to implement together. So for the register, we just register a user, then register service, got the email and name and password, check, do a check, and then we check if exists, through email they exist, then save the user. So that is it. Then inside the hot route, we have the register, login, and the refresh endpoints throughout. I mean, so we're going to call this inside index.tx. So I'm going to collapse this, and then let me enable this. So this is where I call the route. So I'm going to enable this, and let me import the auth route and then the user route. So I'm going to let's look at the user route too. So the user route, we just want to use call only one endpoint there to get the current user based on the access token. So if I go into the user controller, you see we have only one controller. So I didn't use passport or any middleware for the bearer token. So I just implemented uh, get the header and get the access token and pass it to the current user. So to just check if we can get the user based with the access token. So that is why I did this like this. So you can see, but this is not a good way to get the access token. It's best to use passport. So I already covered that in my video. The link will be in the description. So if I go into and get current user service, you can see I got the payload and verify JWT token. Then I pass in the access token into the method. We're going to look at this function. Then we say, okay, if there's no payload, then invalid access token authorized. But if there is, we are going to check the user ID and then get the user name, email and password, and email and the name. So basically that is it. So let's go into JWT and see the implementation of JWT here. So I'm going to JWT and I'm going to open one of them. So inside the get config, env config, we got this from the .env. Inside the .env, you can see we have the JWT secret expire in, refresh token secret, and refresh expires in. Then we retrieve that inside the env config. Then I'll collapse this again. Then go into YouTube's JWT, and this is where we implemented. So basically, what we did here was we have the access type payload and the refresh type payload. So the access type we're only saving only the user ID. While the refresh token payload, we are using the user ID and the JTI. So so we have the sign ups and secrets. Then sign ups, sign ups coming from JW2 web token. Then we have the experience in, we just said type, which is number, string value. This is just to handle Typescript string error. If I remove this string value here, so we have the value and then you can see seconds, minutes, hour, and day. Then we have secrets. So we have the default sign option, which is audience user. Then we have different access token sign option for both access token and refresh token. So we see experience in, we pass in the experience in secrets. Then we have the refresh experience in and the JWT refresh secret. Then we have two methods here, two functions here. This is to sign in JWT, while this is to verify the JWT. So the method is going to be used for both of them to generate the access token and the refresh. So we pass in payload, which is of type of access payload and refresh payload. And we have the option. So we pass in option. If you do not pass option, it will default to access token sign option. There we we sign in the JWT token and return the token. While the verified token, we pass in the token, the option, secret string. Then we pass in the secret, so it's a secret. So we get the secret out from the option. Yeah. Then we just pass in defaults, which is this default here. And then we destructure the options and return the payload and return error if there's any error that occur. So basically that is it. So I'll save this back and let's go into to implement this, let's go into the controller and let's implement our login. So how is this going to work? Once you use our login, we try to save the refresh token in the database, in the Mongoose database, and then issue out the refresh token and the access token. Then once the access token expires, the client will call this controller, this route, to generate a new access token. Then access token and a new refresh token will also be returned. Why the previous one in the database will be cleared out. So let's go ahead and implement the login controller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the user agent. So it's a constant user agent. So, so the user agent, we're getting the user agent from the header user agent. So we should also know that user you might not be able to get the user agent because this is optional. This can be optional. So we can pen this with a different device, anything you can use to identify differentiate the users or the user and device. So why this is the method, we are going to call the service, login service. We've not created that. So we're going to also return the access token, refresh token, and the user. So I'm just going to just return this here, or just say data, and just pass this here. So we're going to structure the body and pass it the user agent. So I'm going to just import this. We can see that. So uh let me go into the login service. So let me go into login service. So in the auth, just click on going to the, so if we go into here, let me close this. So I'll collapse the uh register user service. And then let's go into here. Let's say body, which you're going to have a type of email, which is a type string, uh, password, type string. Then we have the user agent. This will be of type string. So now let's structure this. So I'm going to just say we're going to get it from body. Then we are going to get the email, password, and user agent. So I will just say email, password, and then user agents. So let's check this. So I'll also remind you that I already have my MongoDB URI already here with database. And if I go into config database or config, I already set up my connect to my MongoDB. Then if I go into index.tx, you can see I'm calling the connect database here. So let me close this. Let me close this. So let me go back to my service. So now I'm going to check if the user exists. So I'm going to say await user model dot find one. They're going to say email. So we pass in the email. Then we can check if not user. Then let's throw new not found exception. We can say invalid credential or email and password. Let me just put invalid credential. And then we are going to match the password. So I'm going to say constant is match is equals to await then user dot. So we can get the method compare password, which we are going to pass in the password here. And then this here will help us to compare the password and return a boolean. So we're going to check if not is match. Then we're going to throw a new bad request, invalid credentials. So now what we are going to do, we are going to have to generate our JTI. So let's go into the model again, refresh token. Then we can see what we're going to save. We're going to save the JTI token hash, user ID, and device hash, and expires at. So I'll go into my service, and then let's say constant JTI is equals to UUID 4. So I'm going to use UUID. I already import that. You can see that here. Then we're going to have to hash generate the hash for the user agent. So I'm going to say device hash. So for the device hash, I already have a method inside the utils. So if I go into Crypt, you should see I'm importing this from crypto. And you can see generate device hash. I'm passing the user agent. So I will also confirm if the user agent include Postman runtime. Then we can create the hash for Postman. Instead, if not, then we are going to return the create hash. We're going to assign the user agent and then generate the hash for that. So I'm going to close this and then let's call generate device hash and let's pass in the device user agent. So you can use whatever you want because user agent is not 100% guaranteed that it will always get, since we are assigning it to unknown. If we could not get it from the header. So we just need something to be sure to differentiate the current user that is logging and a different device. So I'm going to generate the access token. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just say await promise dot all. Then I'll call the sign variability token. Then we're going to pass in the user ID. So user dot underscore ID. Then we're going to duplicate this for the refresh token. We'll pass in the user ID. Then we're going to pass in JTI. And if you remember, since we're not passing any option here, because we are supposed to pass two things here, if we're going to sign in JWT, we have payload and option. So we are passing payload, we have not passing option. So since we're not passing option for the access token, we are going to default, if this is not provided, we're going to fall back to access token signing option, which is this. So now we need to get this and pass it here. So I'll go back to my host device, host service, and I'm going to pass it here. So now it will make use of the refresh token sign option instead of the hot token sign option. So once you're done with that, let's just retrieve access token and the refresh token. So I'll save that, and then what we're going to do is um if we already have, so we need to clear the refresh token from the database that matches the user ID and the device hash. Why? Because since the user is going to keep on logging, we don't want to keep existing refresh token or old token there. So if I go into my refresh token, I would like to delete anyone that matched with that device before check anyone that is existing there before I generate a new one. I need to clear the old one there. So you can keep that if you want and just set revoke here. You can just put revoke. Set it to true if the generator login updates the existing ones to revoke true. So you can keep that, but I don't want to, because of the database. I don't want to keep on keeping on use the first token in the database. So instead, I'm going to just clear out the old one. So go into my service and I'm going to let me clear this. So I'm going to scroll down here and let's say await refresh token model and let's say delete many where user ID is user dot underscore ID, and then we're going to say device hash. So we're going to match the device hash. Then once that is done, now we can let's hash the token. So we're going to use bcrypt to hash the token. So I'm going to do await a hash value which is coming from bcrypt. Then I'll just pass in the refresh token here. So if I go into hash value, you can see I'm using bcrypt to hash it. Then now we can call the await. Let's create the refresh token. The create. Let's pass in the user ID first, which is the user dot underscore ID. Then we can pass in the token hash JTI. Then the device hash, which is this one at the top. Then we can pass in the expired at. So we're going to set this to 7 days. So say new dates. And we're going to say dates dot now. We're going to plus the 7 plus times 24 times 60 times 60. I think times 1000. Then we said, so let's return this. We're going to just return the user access token and refresh token. So we are done with the login. So I'm just going to my controller. I already returned all of this and save this. I'll just save this. So let me wait for my server to load and we can test this out. So you say, let me cancel this and we run the server. So I'll go to my Postman and let me go into register first. Register route. So for the register, I already have email here, and let me try and so let's wait for MongoDB is connected already. Let's run this. Let's run this. I'm going to click on send register, and then this will register the user for us. We can see, so we're supposed to have omit the password. We didn't omit the password, but I'll leave that. So I'll copy this email and password so we can log in. So I'm going to log in, and let me just paste this here. Save this and let's log in. And we can see that we've logged in and we've generated the access token. So we didn't omit the password, so we're supposed to have omitted the password from the user. So to do that, you can just simply just say dot omit here. Just put dot omit password. Sorry, I just say user dot omit password. And this should omit the password for us. I'm just going to do that here. So now we can see the access token and refresh token. If we copy the refresh token and let's go into JWT JWT online decoder, decode online. So let me open this. So this will open this and then we can look at the token and see. So I'm just going to paste it here and we can see. Let me paste it. So I've pasted it here. It didn't do anything. So let me paste it. Okay, I've pasted. Okay, we can see the JTI here and the user ID with the audience user. So basically, this refresh token works and we can see the expired at. So that is it. So we have been able to log in with this user. We can go ahead and implement the refresh token and let's see how we can test this using a different user agent. So let's go into the auth controller and let's implement the refresh token. So I'm going to call. So we're going to have to decode maybe to get the refresh token. If this endpoint is being called, we have to pass in the refresh token. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to set up any middleware for that. So I'm going to just go into I think I implemented it in the user controller. So I'm just going to copy this to extract the refresh token. So I'm going to come into the auth controller and I'm going to just paste it here. So this is to refresh token from the authorized header. And let me just import the unauthorized exception. Then we can get the user agent here. So now we have the refresh token. So let me just refresh. We have the refresh token here. So now let's call the service. So I'm going to just call a service here. So I'm just going to call that refresh token service, and we're going to just return the access token and the refresh token here. So let me import this. So let's go into. So let me just break this down, and let's go into the auth service. So I'll collapse this, and then let's implement that. So let's get the refresh token here. Say refresh underscore token, which is of type string, and also the user agent, which is of type string. So let me add comma here. So now we need to verify uh, the refresh token. So I'm just going to say constant get payload. I'm going to say verify token. We can just set the type, which is refresh token payload T payload. Then we pass in the refresh token. And also pass in the secrets. So it's a secret refresh token option the secrets, and then we can just get the payload. Then we can check if not payload, then we can throw an error, a new unauthorized exception saying valid refresh token. Then we can also then hash the let's hash the device. So you have device hash, we're going to say generate device hash and passing the user agent. Then we can retrieve the stored and refresh token. So say stored token is going to be equals to await refresh token model the find one. Where say JTI matches the payload dot JTI. Then we're going to say if not store token, we're going to say we're going to so okay if this thing match what we have in the database, then we're going to have to revoke all users refresh token. So if the user uses different devices to log in and they have separate refresh token, the user ID has been saved in the refresh token, so we're going to revoke all of them. We're going to remove all of them from the database. So I'm going to first of all show an error. So and show new unauthorized exception. So I'm going to say invalid, not invalid. We can say let's say invalid or revoke token, and due to security issue or security reason. So we can create a method here or a function. Say await revoke all users token. we pass in the payload.user ID. We can set it to a string. Then let's create the method here. Say constant. Let me say async. And we're going to say user ID and string. We're going to say await refresh token model dot delete many user ID. Then you can just log, so you can track the log. If you're using log, it's a potential attack detected for user and the user ID. Then we can also, if this pass through, then we can do our check again here. We say store token dot device hash is not equals to device hash. Then we can also say device mismatch. So I'll just say unauthorized device mismatch. I'll say possible attack, or we can just give it a better description there. So if we're able to pass through this, then we're going to say await refresh, sorry, refresh and local model dot delete. We're going to delete the one that matches JTI payload dot JTI. Then we're going to issue a new JTI. Say constant new JTI is equals to UUID ID4. Then let me go into my login and copy this. You're going to create a new access token and refresh token. So I'm going to just paste that here. I'll just call this new access, then new refresh. Then this one we just say payload user ID, payload.user ID, payload.user ID. Why this one should be new JTI, and let's save it. And then we're going to create the refresh token. So I'm going to just copy the same thing here. Basically, both with the return and the hash refresh token. So I'm going to just come down here and let me just paste this here. So instead of refresh token, so I'm going to use new refresh token here. Then user ID should be payload user ID. Then new JTI. Then we're going to just remove this and just return access token to new access token and the refresh token to a new refresh token. So I think that is it. So we've implemented the refresh token service. So let's go ahead and go into our controller and make it. So we've already called this. I'm going to save this and check my server. So let me cancel this and run this. So I'm going to copy this refresh. I'm going to copy this refresh token here. And I'm going to go into the refresh token endpoint, which is inside the route. So I'll go into my routes. So you can see, I think I made a mistake. This should be, I made a mistake here. This should not be service. It should be routes.tx. So you can see refresh. So I'll go into my index.tx. Let me update this and save it so you can see what. I'll save this. So let me go into authorization here. Let's pick bearer token, and then I'm going to paste the bearer token here. So we can call this, and this will refresh from the endpoint and the refresh token access token. And if I try to click on this, now you should see we got a new refresh token and the access token. So if I try to click on this again, an error should show say invalid or revoked token due to security reasons or something like that. Yeah. So we can't use the same refresh token again. So that is it. So let me try and log in. So I have to log in to get a new refresh token. So now to see the device side of it, so I'm going to use a different device to call this make a request with this refresh token. So let me open a new terminal here, and I'm going to use so let me use this call from Postman. So I'm going to be using call. I'm going to be using this. So this is what I'm going to be using. So instead of login, let me go into my uh let me go into refresh token, and then let me click on code here and click on, you can see. So you can copy the snippet here. So I'm not going to use this. I'm going to paste it here so you can see it. So I'm going to just paste that here, and I'm going to just drag paste. So what I did here was to say call get, making a get request call to my endpoint. Then I'll be passing the authorization bearer. So I'm going to have to pass in the bearer token here. But I'm assigning a new user agent which did not match to the Postman user agent. If you look at the generate, let me go into Bcrypt. We can see Postman. So we encrypt this. So we hash the Postman. So if the user agent is not going to match this, so it's going to show an error. So let me get a refresh token. So I'm going to go into my login again. And if let me copy this. So I'm going to just go to where I have refresh token here. I'll clear this and paste it. Then let me close this. Then if I press enter, you should see device mismatch, possible attack, and you can see 401. We can see 401 here. Unauthorized, invalid, or referred to secure something like security. I think I made a mistake here. So if I go into my Postman, Postman Mongo, let me go into my extension. So I'll go into Mongo. I think I have, let me close this. Oh, sorry, not extension. You can see MongoDB here. And I'm going to, let me close this. I'll go to my env and copy, and let me copy my database URI, and I'll go into MongoDB again. So I'm going to just add a new connection. So we can look at let me connect this. Press enter, this should connect. It's still connecting. So it's connected. So I'm going to drag this down. And we can see it here. So if I go into test DB, refresh token document, you can see I have nothing here. So it has cleared the database for me. So uh, if I try to call this again inside, try to recall the refresh token, it's not going to work. So I have to log in again. And once I log in, we should see this should so I'm going to reload this and you should see one. You can see one was created. And you can see the data here, the token hash, the device hash, and also the JTI. So basically that is it. So this is how we are going to invalidate the refresh token rotation and the reuse detection. So now the problem is using MongoDB to store your refresh token, which is not ideally to store to handle this in the database because of the store and query. So I would prefer we use Redis for to handle this because Redis is very fast. So what I'm going to do is I'll go into my let me clear everything here. So let me just clear this. Let me just save this and clear everything here. SRC. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our login and we're going to go into the service. So instead of using Mongoose to manage the refresh token, because we are going to be querying the database or creating refresh as numbers of people are trying to log in, they are calling refresh token, and 15 minutes they are calling the refresh token. Imagine access token is expiring 15 minutes, and you see once it expires, you call refresh token 15 minutes again, you call refresh token. You know, you're querying the database all the time. So I think using Redis we solve, we'll be able to manage this for us since it's very fast. So to handle I'm using Redis, so we can go over to a platform called Upstash. So Upstash is going to, so I'll just go into my Upstash here. So let me let me try and go into Upstash. So I'll just say Upstash. So if I go into Upstash, you can search for Upstash. So let me just search for that so you can go into the landing page. So this is where you will land. You can see Upstash provide Redis for us. It has some other products you can leverage. You can use Redis for caching. Uh, and we can use it for so many things. So I'm going to just use it for managing our refresh token. So I'll just go into the login. So login, I already have an account. You can just sign up. It's very simple. So let me try and sign up again. So I'll just click on create account and I'll click on it. So I'll just click on Google and sign up. So I already selected my Google account and this should sign me up and it should be brought to this page. So then it should take you to your account. Think so. Okay, I think this is where to take you to. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a new database. So I'm going to say node security. For the primary, we can just pick anyone closer to your area. So I'm just closer to you or to your customers. I'm going to just pick anyone here, and then we can click on next. And this should ask us to select pay as you go and then some other amount. So I'll select free and click on next, and this should create uh the database for us so we can see and it should take us to that page. Now we can see it. So what we are going to do is you can use the URI if you want. I think this is it. This is where you can use the Redis. You can use this. Uh, you can see how to use it in Node.js. If you want to use IO Redis to call the Redis. So since I'm using Upstash also has a package which is called Upstash Redis. So I'm going to basically use the Upstash Redis here. So I'll scroll down. So instead of also I'll say npm and this should open it should open it for me. So I'll click on Upstash Redis npm. So this should open this for us. Then you should see how to make use of it in the code. So now if we're able to open this, so if you scroll down, you can see you need to install Upstash Redis. So I already installed that. If I go to my code package.json, you should see Upstash Redis here. Just click install that. Then we can make use of the package here. So first thing we need to get the Upstash Redis request URL and the Upstash Redis request token and call that in the env. So I'm going to just open this and let's just copy this. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, then copy this one token, paste this, save this. And then if I go over to my Upstash, I'll scroll up around here. I'll scroll up, you can see request API. I'll just copy this, I'll paste it here, copy the token, and then paste it here. Save this, then go over to my config. Here, having config, and here I'm going to just call this inside here. So let me remove this. So I'll save it. You can see I'll start Redis request URL and the request token. So let me go into my config and let me create a new config. I'll call this redis.config.tx. And if you go into the post the npm, you can see how to call it. So we're going to call it like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste that here. So what I use is to import the package here, Upstash Redis. Then this is same thing as this. So I'm calling it Redis client. And then I have a method which will help me to get a token. So we need to get the Redis token key. So we need to set a key. We need to have a key, I mean to say. So how this is going to work, we're going to pass in the user ID and then device hash. So this will become the key to the value we are going to set. So we're going to use it. So this is going to be dynamic. So that's why we're setting it like this. So I'm going to save that and then go into my service or service. And then you can see how to make use of Redis. So magically just using set and get. So there are more other properties you can get inside the Redis client or the Redis here. But basically what I'm going to use is only set, get, and then delete. So I'm going to go into my login and we're going to comment this to this three here. Then we're going to get the Redis client. So let's get the key. So I'm going to say Redis key is going to be get and Redis token key. We're going to pass in the user ID and then the device hash. So I'm going to import this. Then we can then delete. So I'm going to say await the Redis clients dot and delete Redis key. So before we create a new one, we need to remove the old one. So I'm going to let's create a new one here. So I'm going to say await Redis clients. We're going to say dot set Redis key, and we're going to pass in JTI. So the reason why I'm using JTI here is because instead of just setting the actual refresh token, since the refresh token already has the JTI inside there and it's unique to each refresh token, so we're going to use that to identify which of the JTI store in the Redis in the value here. This is going to be the key, while JTI is going to be the value. So we're going to set expired at SP and we're going to use 7 days. So I'm just going to say 64,800. Then we can save that and it should work if we try to log in. So let me try and log in here. So let's confirm our server is running. So I'm just going to drag this. Or let me quickly, while the server is still running, let's quickly update this refresh token too. So I'm going to scroll up and let's also do the same thing. We're going to get the Redis key. So I'll scroll down here and I think here, let's get the key. For the user ID, we're going to use payload.user ID. And then we're going to get the value in the Redis key. So I'm going to say constant stored. So instead of store token, we're going to say store JTI. It's going to be equals to await Redis clients dot get. And we're going to pass in the Redis key. So now we're going to just also this. And for this, we're going to say Redis store JTI. So if not store JTI or store JTI is not equals to payload or JTI, and then we can also say invalid or revoke. So we've confirmed that this does not match, then we call this. So there's no point for this hash, so we just comment this out. So we're going to also comment this out. We're going to delete it down here. So I'll just comment this ones out too. So let me implement the so with the Redis clients, we can do multiple action at the same time. So I'm going to say await. So since we're going to have to delete the one that matches JTI, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say Redis client. Now we're going to say multi. First, we're going to delete the Redis key, which is the old one here, and then we are going to. So let me just let me do this like this. And then we're going to set a new key. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy a new key. So I'm going to copy this. So we're going to set this, and we're going to pass in the device hash. I think it's complaining. Yeah, I think we've not added the I think something is a mistake. Yeah, I think set, we add set here. Yeah, we need to, let me guess this. So the key, you get the I and the, so there are three value we need to pass here. We need to pass the JTI. So the JTI is a new JTI. So we say new JTI. And then let me remove this. We can see that now. So we've been able to remove the old one that matches JTI, which is the key. And then we are going to also set a new JTI. We're going to pass in the key and also set a new JTI. So basically that is it. I think we can just use Redis key here. We can use Redis key here. It's still the same thing. I think, yeah, it's still the same thing. You can just pass in Redis key here to make it shorter. So that is it. So let me confirm everything is working. So I'm just going to pass in the last execute. Yeah, okay, yeah, we can see the await. It's not showing that line. So let me see. Let me check my server. Yeah, so we are connected to the database. So let's try and go into Postman. So let me Postman to run. Let me go into login, no security, login, and then let's try and log in with this user. So I'm going to log in now. And we can see the refresh token access token is generated for us. So I'm going to just go into my Upstash and I'm going to data browse, and we should see a new key is being set here, and we can see a value HTI. So now if I try to copy this refresh token, uh, go into refresh token. So let me just make use of this refresh token here. Let me replace this. So I think I need to so let me just remove this. I'll paste it again. So let me get the refresh token from login, and let me just paste it here. So I'm going to go into where we have the refresh token. So let me clear this here, the placeholder, and then paste it. So if I try to enter again, we can see invalid token due to security reasons. So why is it saying invalid token? So yeah, because it didn't match. So invalid or revoked token. The check we did there, we are doing it here. So if I check my Upstash now, we should see this should be cleared. Oh yeah, sorry, we forgot. Why it didn't clear this because we didn't update the revoke all user token. So let's go straight to revoke. Yeah. So instead of using the first token model, so let me console the. So I comment this out and then let's get the key. So we're going to say Redis clients dot keys. We're going to get all keys that matches this user ID. Then we're going to say if keys dot length is greater than 0, we're going to say await Redis clients dot delete, and we're going to say passing all the keys here, and this should delete it. So let's try it again. So let's wait for the server to run and then we should try and test it out again. So database is connected. Let me run this again. So I press enter and we can see invalid or revoked token due to security reason. If I go into my Upstash now, sorry, this is it. So we can see that it has cleared the ready stuff for us. So now we can see that this will work very, very fine. So it depends on what you want to use. You want to use refresh token model, or you want to use Redis. I know it's preferable. I recommend using Redis to store the refresh token. So basically, this is how we're going to secure our um, secure the user data from an attacker trying to make use of any refresh token that does not match with the user device. So basically, that is it. So let's go ahead and work on the next one. Step 3 is impure validation. The problem is API are vulnerable to bad data and missing field, which can lead to unexpected crashes. Without proper impure validation, attacker can send misinformed requests, causing error or even exploiting weaknesses in the system. So now let's look at the solution. So we can use SORT. SORT is a validator or any other validator to strictly validate incoming data or the request body, ensuring only correctly formatted and expected values are processed. So let's look at how to use SORT in our code. So let's go over to. So if I go over to let me clear this. So if you notice inside the login or register and controller, we are not validating the request body before sending it to the service. So this can be a problem if I go into my Postman. This can be a problem, can cause an issue if you try to avoid impute validation. So impute validation is necessary because sort can work both in clients and on the backend too. So it's very, very uh, useful. It's one of the best for me. So we're going to try and validate this. So what I'm going to do is I already have sort already installed. I go into my package.json, you can see Zod is already installed here. So I'm trying to search for Zod. So it has come. I'll just put Zod npm, and we can see you can go ahead and install Zod. So I already installed that. So how we are going to handle this? So if I scroll down, we can see how to use Zod. There are so many things you can, so many ways you can use it. So basically, I'm just going to scroll. You say, okay, you can see how to make use of it. Just you can call an object. If your data is object, you set object and pass in the keys, that is the request field, and then we can just say PS this. So basically, that's what I did. If I go over to my validation here, auth validation, you should see that I already done that. I already set the set object and I pass in the name, email, and password. So this is just I separated it so I can make reuse it with the login schema. So now if I try to copy this register schema, I'm going to just do it the same way. We're going to say PS. So I'm going to my auth controller and then I can use this constant valid. You can call it anything. So I'm just going to say register schema, import that. We're going to say PS. Why is it? So let me just do it like this. I'll just call body dot PS, yes, and we're going to just pass in the request dot body. You can also do it like this if you want. Victoria dot if you want like, and then we can just pass in the body. So if we try to use we can also do that for the login. We can just pass in the body here. Then when you try to, let me import this. So if I try to pass in a wrong valid email, they should throw an error for us. So I'm also catching the error in the error handler. So if I go into error handler, you should see I'm formatting the error because of how Zod throws the error. So you can see I'm checking the instance of error that matches Zod error, and you can see I have format Zod error, and this is it. So all of this has been taught in this in the video. The link is going to be in the description, so you can go ahead and see how this is being implemented. So basically, I just format the data and give it a nice response. So let's test it out. So I check my server is running. Let me close this. So I'll just try and log in. So let me go to my Postman, and then let me just give this a wrong email. So I'll save this and click on send. We can see 400. If you look like, we can see a invalid email. So this is how to handle input validation. You should always put input validation so that you can handle any uh, error to avoid internal server error. So basically that is it for input validation. So let's go ahead and look at step 2. So the step 2 is prevents cross-site scripting and NoSQL injection by sanitizing input. So the problem is API are vulnerable to NoSQL injection and cross-site scripting, which allows attackers to inject scripts or manipulate queries. This can lead to data theft, section hijacking, or unauthorized database access. So the solution is to sanitize input with cross-site script package to remove harmful scripts and prevent NoSQL injection using Mongo's query sanitization and prioritize query. So let's see how to implement the solution. So what we can do is we can first of all let's work on the NoSQL injection. So how to implement it? So let's first of all and see the problem action. So now how to implement the problem? So I'm going to go into my login, and this is common to MongoDB. So if I try to log in now, so I'm going to go into my email. So instead of using my actual email, I can come and do like this, open a parenthesis, and then paste greater $GT and empty string. And you should see that if I save, let me just say this and check my server. My server should be running. And let me click on save. You notice that this will give us the actual data. Okay. Let me remove the validation. So I think validation block this, which is actually great. So, but we need to also, in case validation is not being passed, so I'm just going to remove the validation here. And let me just say request.body and save this. So let's check the server is running. Uh, so let's, so now my database is connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and log in. Let me close this. And if I try and log in, notice that this should give me it should give me a response. Can you see? It returned the user any of the username that matches. So it gave me a different email that already exists in my database that matched the password. And it also gave me the access token and refresh token. So this is unsafe. Even though we're doing the MP validation, we need to also sanitize anything that any the inputs that's coming from the client since we're using MongoDB. So how to fix this is to use a package. So I already installed that. So it's called Mongo Sanitize, think Express Mongo Sanitize. If I come here, you can see that I'm going to just copy this and I'll go into my npm and let me paste it here. And you can go into Express Mongo Sanitize and you can see what is this for. So this is to search for any key object that begin with $sign and or contain dots or anything in the request param or request. So this will help us to sanitize the data. Very simple. Just by copying this and pasting this, this will help us to it. You can just to replace and this will replace. So I'm just going to copy this. Let me go into my it should be inside your index as a middleware. So I'm going to go into my index. So I'm going to just paste it here. Let me just paste it here and save that. So that should work. We can also track when, let me import this. So make sure to import or install the Express Mongoose. So before I import that, so we can also track when this occur. So I'm going to just say on sanitize. You can see we can have on sanitize here. So I'm going to just do that. So on sanitize, this will console the path and the key. So we know when the SQL injection or occurred or when it was attempted. So I'm going to import this. So let me, I said it can find uh Mongo sanitize. So I can get that from npm. Let me get that from npm. So I'll just import that here. So like this, and this should solve. So I'll go into my Postman now, and let's try and let's wait for the server to load. So now my database is connected. So I'll just go into my Postman, and let me try and send this now. You should see this should throw an error for us. I'll click on send. You can see invalid data and you can see invalid value. So also notice that the error is showing like this. This is because I also handle the validation. So if I go to error handler, you can see from MongoDB cast error. If I comment this out, save this, and then wait for the server to. So now it is connected. So I'm going to just close this. And if I click on send, you can see it should give us internal server error. So that is basically why I have to um, patch the error for cast error and the validation error. Error is imported from Mongoose. So basically that is how to handle the NoSQL injection. So let's go ahead and look at, let me close this, the cross-site scripting. So how does this work? So let's say the user comes on the login and try to pass in some script. So let's go into not login register. So before we test this, let me go into my Mongo models. I mean, And let me not hash. I will not hash this. So we can see this in action. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to update this data and I'm going to put this data here. So basically what this data is trying to attach script. So when display on the client side, it's going to trigger the JavaScript. So basically now this is how an attacker can pass in this type of script inside the um, inside the payload. So we need to be able to cache all of this, and then it's going to actually save it, but it's going to remove all of this script tag like the signs there and then render them like a string instead of the actual script tag. So if I try to save this, you should see that it will save this data. So I'm going to register this user now. And once I register, you should see, okay, email already exists. So let me just set 5 here. We can send, and we can see that it's actually save the data. Yeah, we can see the password. We didn't actually, I didn't hash the password, so that we can see that. We can see how this is being passed. So we need a script. There are so many various type of data we have. We can pass. We can pass in the image cross-site script or the JavaScript one where we had in the JavaScript alerts. Like here, so in the email, we can also just do it like this. We can also pass in the password or the name. So several things you can pass the attacker can pass. So you need to have to be able to handle all of this. So basically, what we're going to use, we're going to be using the cross-site script, the cross-site scripting. So I'm going to say XX. I'll say npm, and if I open this, you can see that. So you say express sanitize untrusted HTML to prevent cross-site script, which we take on configurations specified by a wish list, by a whitelist. So I'm going to scroll down, and if you go down, you can see how this is being passed and how we can use that. You can see that is that on the browser. Basically, that's how to do that. So what we're going to do is let me go into my index.tx. So I'm going to install. I've already installed the this package. So if I go into my package.json, you should see it here. So what we are going to do is we're going to manually make use of it because we are going to pass it into the request body, params, and query. So I already have a middleware here, security middleware, which I've created. I pasted it here. So we're going to go over it together. So basically, what they say, what we are doing here, we're creating a middleware. This is a function which is going to return the actual middleware for us. So what this is a method which we create recursive method. You can see we have sanitize. So we check in the data. If the data is string, we return and pass in the package. I've installed it. I've imported passing the data. Or if the data is array, we map the data and pass in the sanitize inside here. Then we check if the type is an object and not null. We convert it and also map it and also pass in the sanitize value. So we're actually using the same method inside the student. So then we pass the method inside here. Basically, what this is going to do is if it's map, it's going to actually pass each of the data inside this data, and then if it matches string, it's going to pass through it. If it does not matches any of this, we just return the data. Since if it's number, we're just going to return the number data. We don't need to actually pass this for add this for number. So if you save that, so I'm going to make use of this. If you don't know how to do recursive function, you can check it out. So I also have an example here. If I go over to my code, we can see an example here. This is how the recursive function works. You see, we have the type here, and we have the children, and the children is just like a tree that has other object, and the object has children with name, and also the children has some children. So you can look at the print file system. You see we are using the print file system inside the method, and when we console this is going to print this. If I run this now, You can see how it print all of this data for us using the recursive function. It's also a data structure, I think so. Yeah. So let's just go back to the code and then test this out. So let's copy this. Let me copy this method here. I'm going to the index of CX. Make sure this is exported. And then below here, I'm just going to say app.use. I'm going to just call, since this is wrapping a method, I'm going to just, in a function, so I'm going to just call this. So I'm going to save this. And let's wait for this to run. So our database is connected. So I'm going to close this. And I'm going to go into my package Postman. And let me try and run this. So I'm going to save this. And then I click on register. Sorry, we need to remove the let's remove the validation here. I'll wait for this to run. So even though I didn't remove the validation, it's because I think the email didn't match. So even though I leave the validation, what about the name? The name is still going to have that. So we need to also validate that too. So I'm going to try and run this now. Okay, it said email already exists. Let me try and do two here. And we can see how the data is being formatted here. You can see that the script tag is cleared out. You can see the sign. So this is not a string. Even when it's being called in the client side, it's not going to trigger any JavaScript. I think it didn't work for the email. I think so, but we can look at the password. We can look at the name. Totally work for this too. But we can also combine that with the validation here. So I'm going to say the validation. Then if I try and let me change this to an actual email, save this, check our server is running. If I click on send, you can see even with the email, we can see sort validation is validating the email, but the name is not able to handle this. So with the cross-site scripting, we can be able to with this package XX package, we can be able to convert it to string, convert any HTML tag into string. So basically that is it. So let's go ahead and work on the last. Step one, we have rate limiting temporal email protection with Express or Arcjet. So the problem for rate limiting, APIs are vulnerable to abuse from both a malicious users who send excessive requests. This can lead to just attack and service downtime. While for temporal or disposable email always allows spam sign off, fake accounts, and fraud in user registration system. So how to solve this? So we have two methods. We have the manual method which you can use. We have a platform that help you to handle this. Let's go into our code and see how to implement that. So I'm going to let me go into my package adjustment. We already installed that. We're going to start with the weight limiting. So I already have the package already installed. It's called Express Weight Limits. So I'm going to open this and paste it here. If I go Express Weight Limits, if I scroll down, you can see that this package is being used. It can be used. So you can see it's just how to set the weight limits here. You can see the window MS 15 minutes. For limits, we say limit each IP to 100 requests per window. So per 15 minutes, we say standard header and the latency header for. So we disable any S rate limit headers and other headers you can pass to it. So other config you can pass to it. So you can see full documentation here. So let's make use of it. So I already set this up already. If I go into my security middleware, you can see I already copied this. You can see the API limiter. I'm using the same thing with the package here, 100, and then I also pass in handler this way. I'm trying to render the response, the response that's going to be sent to the clients, and also I can specify the IP here, the request IP and console that. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this go into index.txt, and then I can just come into let me try with this endpoint. So I'm going to just paste it here, and let me import this. So I'm going to import it from the security middleware, and then I'm going to make sure my server is running, and let's test it out. So since we are using limit of 100, we can limit this to whatever you want. So I can just change this to 1 or 2. So I'm going to leave it to 100. So let's try and run this. Let's make a 100 request and see how this will turn out. So how we're going to do that, we're going to just go into Postman, just come to the collection or the collection. I'll just click on this drop down, click on run collection, and this should open for me a runner. Then I'll just uncheck all of these requests. So I just want to only the index. Then for the run configuration, I'm just going to set this to 102. So this will run for 102 times. So you can just leave the load to 0 and let's run this node. And this should make a 102 request for us. And you can see that we're in 63, 77, and we are seeing now we can see the 429 too many requests. I can make it okay for you to see. I'll just set it to like 2 requests, maximum 2 requests, and I'll just go into my index, and then wait for the server to run, and then let me send this. Let me just send this. I'll send the first one, send the second one. Then if I send the third one, we can see too many requests. So basically, this is how to handle rate limiting in Express, the manual method. So let's go ahead and look at how to implement the temporary email, handle temporary email. So if I scroll down, I already do that for us. So I have a package which I installed, which is called disposable email domains, which is popular. So if I open that, I'll just go and search for this on npm. So disposable email domains, uh, this is how to make use of it. You can see that they're always trying to keep up to date and use this platform here. Say if you have new disposable, since it does not it does not get all the old disposable emails. So the ones you can handle trace error, why you can also update for them. So basically, so this is how to implement. I created a middleware. What I did here was to check the email using Zord validation, which I exported here to check the email being passed. Then I was able to just retrieve the domain and check the domain if it's included, and we know that it's a temporary email. So let's use this. So what I'm going to do is I can just go into an index, or you can go into your route, anyone you want. You can pass it in your route, or you can pass it in the index here. Or let me import this. I'll save this and my server should run. So my database is connected. So I'll go into my Postman, and then let me just search for temp email here. I'll click on this temp mail, and I'll just copy the temporary email, go into my register. I'll just change this email to this. I'll just give it this a different name, and let me just change this to a different password. Save this and let's try and run this now. If I click on send, you should see okay, this went through. Okay, let me remove this here. Let me try this inside the routes. It should have stopped this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just console the domain. Let me just console this here. And let's see if this will, let me check my server. Let me try with this email. Let me try with this one. Let me copy that and let's try Postman. And let me try and pass this again. Save this. Let's see. Click on send. So email already exists. So this is working for this email. Let me try and delete this email. Copy a new email. And then let's go into this and let me paste it again. So I think this email does not exist in the package I use. So I'll try and send this again. So I register this user. Oh, so it's not able to stop any of the temporal email. So let me try and delete this one and try a new email. Okay, let me try this again. Let's see. For the last time, I think this one is not working fine. So if I click on send, I think it's saving this email. So it's able not to find any of this domain is not included inside the package. So basically, this package works for sometimes, it does not work sometimes. I can try other temporal email and it might work and it might not work. So instead of using this, we can use I just we help us to give us a perfect which is a platform that provide handling of temporal email. So just let's go ahead and make use of that for both rate limiting, both detection, and then other packages. So this is usually saving. So this package is not it's not unable to find all these emails. It's not in the domain. And it's not included in the domains. So let's make use of the other package. So let's go ahead and work on that. So let me open this platform. Arcjet. So if I open this platform now, it's called Arcjet.com. So this platform will help us to handle disposable email, monitor, handle requests, rate limiting, and also both detection and some other sheet protection or security mechanism we can also add in our product, which I far recommend this for production. So basically, let this load. I just provide both detection with limited email validation and attack protection. So basically, this is what this package is for. So we can use it in different framework, with NodeJS, and since we're using it in Node.js, we're going to be using this, and we can look at some of the what they offer, like both detection and how to implement it. So the first one we're going to look at is the rate limiting. So let's look at rate limiting. So for rate limiting, we need to set a key, passing the rules. We can use token buckets. So they have different type of algorithm for this. You can see they have fixed, they have sliding window, and they have token buckets. So to learn more about and then how to implement it, so you just use protect and access deny. You just set decision is deny, and that's how to do that. So for email validation, very simple, the same thing. We have validate email, and you provide the what you should block disposable MS record and invalid email. So let's go ahead and implement this. So first of all, let's sign up. We can just go to just sign in. Um, Once you just sign up and sign in, and you should get your access key. So I already signed up. Let me just log in. So I'll sign up, and once you sign up, you should see this like this. So just copy your key. Copy the key. I'll just add it to my ENV. So let me just go to my ENV. Uh, ENV, and I'm going to just paste it here. So you can see we have Arcjet, ENV, Arcjet key. So just save that, and I'll just go to my ENV config, and you should see I've already covered it inside here already. So basically that's how to do it. So I'm just going to go straight to my select Node.js. And once you click on Node.js, just click continue with Node.js. And it will just take you to the documentation for on how to use it with Node.js. And then just basically that is it. So it's already set up for you. So I just go to doc. You can see how to install. So we need to install this package. So I've already installed that inside my package.json, which you see the package here. I've already installed that. Then we see some requirements and adding the keys. Then this is for the index.ts. You can just do something like this. You track by IP. So this is to implement the sheet, the both detection and also token buckets. Then you can use the protect to check use the protect to get the decision, and then from the decision you can get the is deny, then you can throw your error or continue. So you can start your server. So basically that is it. So I'm just going to go straight to the doc. What's this? So let me click here. Now we can see rate limiting here. So for the rate limiting, I'll just click on algorithm so you can see um, we have the fixed window algorithm for rate limiting. This is a street. It's a simple algorithm, but it's street. So you limit the you can see they are blocked once the window expires. We have the you can see how to implement the fixed window here. Then we have the sliding window. You can check this doc and you will see understand it better. Sliding window. We also have and look at how to implement a sliding window. It says C and second sliding window allows a maximum of 100 requests. And we can see the example they've illustrated here. Then token bucket. This is far a little bit better. Um, it's not fixed and does not allow people. Does not it does not make the like you can see here. Once the bucket is empty, the client block onto the bucket refill. So even as the client is making a request, the bucket is refilling. So it also has its own downside of it. So basically, this is how to implement it. So let's go ahead and see how to implement. So if I go over to my config, I already created a Arcjet config. So I want to use this. I want to just put the configuration here once and then make use of this AJS and set the rule. So I also add sheet. If you want to see how to implement sheet, just go to sheet. You click on quick start, and then this should open. Let me click on this. Okay, yeah, you can see how to implement sheet here. Just basically like this. So we say dry run mode logs only. Use live to block. So we're using dry run to actually just not actually do anything, but on production we want to use live. So live will actually make it to work. So I've set this already. So what I did was to implement the rate limiting, I had to create a middleware. I had to create a middleware. I call it rate limit middleware, and then I actually do the same thing. If I go back to rate limiting, click on quick start, then you should see if I click on this. So let's look at it here. If I scroll down to the implementation, we can see I'm using token buckets. So for live, if you live will block the request, but if you use dry will just run the log. So that is why I said if production use live, if it only works on live. So if developments use dry run. But since I want to test it, I also have to use live. Then refill it, use refill rate 5. So I can set it to 5 or 10. So I set it to 10. So then one request 7 to I think every not 12 seconds. It should be 10 seconds here. So this refill 5 token per interval. This should let me remove this. This is supposed to refill every 10 token per interval. Then this is refill every 10 seconds. This also refill every 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds. And then this allow 5 requests. So bucket maximum capacity is 10 tokens. So it's just like 10 token. So I use 5 here. So I'll make 5 requests. Then I have so inside it. So what I did was to get AJ from the config, and I use with to add this rule to that existing rule in the config. So I have decision here, just simply the same thing they have here. Protect. So they're using user ID. So I'm not using user ID characteristics. You can set characteristics here inside here. And then you need to pass in the user IDs. But since I'm not using it, it's going to make use of my IP address. So it's going to make use of the IP address. So I'm not going to pass that. So you can pass the requested, say the .5 token per the buckets from the bucket. So I'm going to set this to 1 since we're using 5. So I said if deny, so I just said too many requests. So let's test this out. So I'm going to copy rate limiter. And since this is inside a function and I'm going to pass in the requested, so I can just go into my index.txt and I can just pass it here. So let me comment this. Let me remove this. So I have to for this. Let me import this. I'll say requested, I'll pass it to 1. So let me save that and then we can make the request here. So let me go into my postman and let's try and run this. So let me run my npm run dev and wait for it to the server. So my server is running. So I'm just going to go into this. Let's try and run this again. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to just run this. So let me just remove for this and check both of them. Just put we said 5 capacity, so I just put like 7 here and just click on run security and then let me close this and this should run and you should see too many requests from C7 there. You can see that. You can also make this. You can also use call to do that. So I'm going to just let me just clear this. So I'll just click on enter and this should call the endpoint. And we can see too many requests. You can see the response here. So you can see that the rate limiting is working. So you can also add it to, you can remove it here and add it to the actual app itself. We can just, let me just add it below here. We can just say app dot YouTube and just pass it and pass it here. And this will work for all your endpoints. So basically that's how to implement that. Then for the validation, you can check. Let's also check the documentation. Let's go to email. Let's go away from the rate limiting. Go to email validation. Click on quick start, and then you can see how to validate email here. So basically, they even give you the example. I think yeah, there was a sample here. You can see validate email and then set the disposable block disposable. You can just go straight to the I think reference or concept. You should see different. I think let's check reference. We should be able to see the configuration. I think so. I'm looking for all the old category. Okay, yeah, we can see okay, email type. You can see and disposable free, no MX record and then invalid. So basically that is what I use. So what I did was to create Let me open my code. So I created a middleware called email validation middleware, and I just use the same thing here. You can see I said it's possible, invalid, and no MX record. I set it to live so it works. So it will work, and I use the withdraw. So I create a middleware. Then I get email from the request body. I use an result to validate the email before passing it to the protect passing the request and passing the email. Then if decision is denied, then we know that disposable or invalid email is not allowed. So they also provide an example here. We can see example dot Arcjet Arcjet.com. You can provide any temp email here and you click on sign up here. They should show an error here. So I'm going to test this with let me test this with temp email. Then click on temp email. I'll copy this one. I'll go back and let me paste it here and let's see. Click on sign up. And we can see that it didn't work. So let's test this out. So I'm going to copy the email validator from here. Let me copy this. Go into my index.tx, and then let's go down to where we have let's go down to I think login or sign up. Let's put it here. And let's make sure to call it. So I'm going to just call the middleware. So let me import the middleware. So save that and let me go into my Postman. So I'll go into my register requests. So let me close this. So let me try with the temp email here and let's see if this will work. So I'm going to just paste this. Sorry, let me just copy the email. So it's copied. Go back to my Postman and let me just paste it here. Save this and let's try to sign up with this email. So I'll click on send and then let's see. So we can see forbidden. Why is it not? It's supposed to have returned the response. Okay, let me go into my let me go into my auth route. Let me remove this. Let me save this. And I think let me confirm that I'm returning this response here. Yeah, we're passing the next and the return here. So let me check my server. Okay, we can see the message here. We can see sheet erasing. We can see email disposable. We can see that it works here, which is great. So there are some temp emails that might work. It's not 100% accurate. Some temp email works. Like if I search for temp email, I'll click on this particular one here. But at least it will block majority. So let's wait for this to load. So let me copy this. I'll copy this one. Go into my Postman and then let me try this temp email. Paste it, save, and I click on send. And let's see this. So we see that this one works. This temp email works. So it's not that it doesn't capture this particular temp email, but for other ones I've tested, it captured it. So basically that is it. So let's go over and look at the other thing Arcjet provide like the port detection. So I'm just going to click on port protection. I mean, click on concept, quick start, and if you scroll down, we can see category you will allow, and then mode live. So basically, it's just the same thing, and then you just check if denied. If you go into the category, I think identifying bots, you can see a different type of bots you can allow. Uh, you can see you can also block if you want. You can see both category. You can see Postman here. Um, I think Postman is here. I can't find it again. Something like that. So let's test it out. So I already create a middleware which handle the sheet and then the I call it sheet and both, but it's majorly for both. So if I just go in straight here, you can see detect both. And then you can see category, basically the same thing really here. So if I remove Postman here, we can see this in action. So I'm going to click on save. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy and sheet both, go into my index.tx. Then I'll just apply it to the app itself. So I'm going to just say sheet post protection. So import as, save as, and if I go to Postman and I try to make any request again, you should see that I'll be blocked from accessing it because I think Postman behave like the bot. So let's see if the server is running. So the server is running. Let me just click on send. Now we should see bots forbidden to access, bots detected. So you see how great it is. But if I apply Postman here, inside the allow here, allow array, I mean to say, then if I click on send again, you can see it's work because we've added a Postman there. So basically this is it. So this is the last part for the security in Node.js. So guys, I would like you guys to make sure to like, uh, make sure to share, and then comment your thoughts about this in the comment section. See you next time.